Hello, this is Julian Lage with D'Addario Sound Advice, and today I would like to talk with you about solo development, more specifically phrasing and our relationship to the beat. Now, for me, improvisation it's what I love, and I find it to be kind of like a laboratory. Anything I've ever worked on or tried to develop or struggled with, they've always been things that show up in improvisations where I go for something and I can't, or that feels like a barrier to entry, So for me, that's why improvisation is kind of like the test laboratory. You can go play, you can explore, go, that's really cool, but I think I can go deeper here. I think I can, use some work here. For whatever reason, that's my relationship to it. So it's doctor's orders. I got to improvise to learn how to be a better guitar player. That's how I think about it. Now, with that in mind, there are two, topics that I keep coming back to. And the first one is, it has to do with the agenda we have when we play. For me, so often, I've noticed that there's kind of a subliminal agenda. It can be as simple as don't suck. What's the point of the solo? Oh, it's to show that I don't suck. What's the point of the solo? Oh, it's to basically not fall on my face. That's kind of the survival agenda. And though, let me be very clear, there's a time and place for that. And absolutely, you don't want to fall flat on your face. You want to shine bright and do your thing. There's something about that kind of survival mechanism that, in my experience, kind of gets in the way. So even though it might sound proficient, often the music feels like it can't really leave your own orbit. You know what I mean? We're looking for transcendence. One of my greatest teachers of all time, Hal Crook, who I studied with at Berklee for many years, he would talk about the music playing itself. And I remember kind of not understanding that for a long time. And then I had a couple moments, I still remember them to this day, where I saw what he meant, where the music was making decisions. And I don't mean this in a grandiose way. I mean, really, I think my agenda got put to the side. My desire to not suck, my desire to be great, my desire to fill in the blank subsided. And what was left is the miracle of sound in music. Now, that's wonderful to speak about, but what does that look like? And how do we implement it? How do we access it? I was thinking, for the sake of this conversation, I would just demonstrate. Let's take a blues. I think there's a universal nature to that. And I want to improvise in such a way where I'm basically seeking to generate good ideas. I'm in the process of generation. That's similar to an agenda. So I'm using those words kind of a little bit interchangeably. So what's my goal? Be cool. Play cool stuff. I'll do a little bit and then we'll pause. 1, 2, up, 2. Okay, fine. It's nothing to remember. With all this stuff, there's not really a good or a bad. But what I can tell you is that my experience of that, I was stressful. Stressful because by no one's direction other than my own, I spent every moment of that chorus looking, hunting. What can that I gotta do, and it's fine, but you get to a point where it's a little bit exhausting, and there's kind of a responsibility that I felt myself juggling. Now, what's an alternative? Space is always our friend. Pausing is always our friend. And when it comes to phrasing, I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Phrases really begin once we've stopped playing. In other words, it's just like speaking. Once I've stopped speaking, you kind of hear what I just said. And that's a mechanism that is improvisers and players is really, really helpful, that you kind of need, as Jim Hall used to say, notes need room to breathe. There needs to be a room around it just so that it can be processed. And forget anyone else, just by yourself. Like, what did I just play? In doing that, often things are revealed about the direction. Sometimes I think of it like it's So the solo is kind of unfolding if I take the time and space to just see what's unfolding versus overriding it. So I'd like to do a version now where that's all that's going to change. I'm just going to leave pauses and listen and see if it pushes me anywhere different than I would have come up with. I guess, here we go. Okay, so again, not good, bad, or indifferent, but experientially, that had a different feeling to me. I felt maybe like a more balanced partnership. Sure, I have agency, but I'm kind of watching it maybe at the same time you're watching it. The only difference is I can play something different, and you can stop listening and walk away. We both have freedom in this relationship. Let's go a little bit deeper now. What I notice is that the instrument, any tone production, is dealing with overtones. And without going terribly deep into that, what I'm saying is that things resonate, right? So you hear a note and it's got this sparkle around it. That's the simplest way you hear it and you go, it's rich. It's not just like it's not a doorbell. Those can be rich too. But it's a complex sonic experience. Often for me, when I hear a note or I hear a phrase and I pause and I listen, it kind of almost like reverb. You can hear things still ring out in the mind's eye. Do you know what I mean? So you play something and there's kind of this aura around it where you go, oh, there's some energy there around it. A simple example is that is you play, have I paused there? Last thing I remember hearing is, that's kind of the statement I'm left with. That can be so helpful in directing the flow of what comes next. The most simple, I guess, version of that is after the pause, pick up where you left off. After I finish this note, take a pause and then keep going from that note. Why don't I do a chorus or two like that where whatever I play, whenever I stop, I pick up exactly where I left off and I see if that is different. 1, 2, 3. Wait. Okay. So for me, that was kind of fun because it was extremely fun. The tension was less on don't suck, I must do more stuff, be cool. And it was kind of like my only job is to just pick up where I left off. And it's simple, but I do think it's important. I do think that's letting the music help us. We're getting closer to letting the music play itself, Now, what I would like to invite you to do, if you're interested in this, is, because this is often what I've done, come up with strategies just like that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter how many, that you can go to remember that the music is going to tell you what to do. For me, in this case, it's pick up where I left off or leave a space. For you, it might be, I don't know, it might be a breathing thing. We say, God, anytime I feel like I'm kind of huffing and puffing, my phrasing is probably going out the window a little bit too. So I'm just going to actively stop, take a breath, look around the room, remember that I'm connected to a universe around me, and then I'm going to start up again. What does that do to the music? So in other words, you become kind of like a scientist or someone who's experimenting. And I think that's very good for the music. Also, why not? See what you find. It might be really fun and bring out some great music. But there's the second part of this lesson, though, that I want to share with you now, which is a little more, I would say, tactile. It has to do with rhythm. Now, phrasing implicitly, we're talking about rhythm. We're talking about cadence. It's no different than speech. But there's a very, I would say, important feature of time that, at least in my experience, only gets talked about in certain circles. You hear drummers talk about this a lot, bass players. I know a lot of saxophone players, some guitar players. And it has to do with the notion of the bigger beat. You heard people talk about this. I'm sure you felt it if you haven't already explored it yourself. What does that mean? Now, let's say we'll take this tempo. I was just playing blues. 10, 4, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1. And that was kind of where the quarter note was. And subliminally, I was playing a solo with that subdivision in my head. I was kind of hearing boom, 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 boom. Now, I can hear that in my playing, that there's always this kind of pulse. And there's nothing wrong with it. That's just what I'm hearing. However, if I adopt, I guess, an allegiance to a bigger subdivision, meaning instead of, I feel it as same tempo, but I'm just getting half that speed. What does that sound like? 1, 2, ready, go. So, I don't know what your experience of that is, but my experience is that there's just a little more breath around it. It's a little less da 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 da, and it's just and that's cool to know that I have access to that. It's also affecting the phrasing and my touch and my breathing and my listening. So, as always, everything's connected. Let's go further. So, here's our tempo roughly. We did this. What happens if we go? So I'm feeling 10, 10. It's just more languid. There's something in there. It's almost as though I'm filling up the cavity of 4 beats. I've got room to maybe speed up, slow it down, and so on and so forth. Now let's just go do a couple more so you just see the direction this is going, which I'm sure you already do. If we do, and then we go, and we go, and then we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so it's a different kind of playing, right? It's all me, it's all music, but I notice that as the beat gets wider, it feels more like there's freedom rhythmically. And when I go back to, just to go back so you can see as a reference, here's what the quarter note was feeling like. More beboppy, less space around it, fine in its own right. The point of this, okay, is that we have agency over the feel and the flow of a solo from a rhythmic perspective. The wider the beat, the more it can usually embrace without feeling like, oh, I'm wrong. It's a very forgiving beat. And so many of my favorite drummers that I played with or just admired, everyone from Dave King to Joey Barron to Elvin Jones to Billy Higgins to Art Taylor, Max Roach, all of they possess the whole spectrum. So when you're playing with them, as I get busier, they get wider. As I get wider, they can kind of meet me in the middle. So I just wanted to bring this up as a consideration for us guitar players, that our rhythmic agency and how we feel the beat really informs the development of the solos. Additionally, our understanding of phrasing and picking up where we left off, and letting the music kind of do the work for us, is very important for our solos. And all of that comes back to our relationship with the instrument. I hope this, if nothing else, just sparks curiosity about all of that. And may you take it further and further and further. One last note I'll make about the rhythmic thing is the most I've gone up to is having the metronome click once every chorus. And if you're doing a long song, that can be a while. So you play a ballad and it clicks, and then a minute later it clicks again, and inevitably I'm off. But boy, dude, I enjoy that journey in the middle without the kind of tyranny of one type of subdivision. Something to think about. I want to leave you by telling you what I'm playing. This beautiful Collings OM1AJL guitar. I've been playing for years. And I use the D'Addario nickel bronze 12-gauge strings, which I use on all my acoustics. And I love it very much. Anyway, thank you. It's been a pleasure. See you around. Bye.